No one knew she was part human, part demon until this happened. The village of Ukoma was nestled in the heart of the African savanna, bordered by rolling hills and thick forests that whispered with ancient secrets. It was a village where everyone knew everyone else, and strangers were a rarity. The sun always blazed hot in Ukoma, but on market days, the heat was softened by the bustling energy of the villagers selling and buying produce, cloth, livestock, and every other necessity. One such market day, however, a new vendor appeared. She arrived with no fanfare, setting up a small stand at the edge of the market square. Her fruits were unlike anything anyone had ever seen, bright, colorful, and fragrant beyond belief. But it was not her fruits that drew attention. It was her. Her name was Zuina, though she never offered it unless someone asked. The moment she appeared, the market seemed to hush, as if in awe of her presence. Her beauty was striking, her skin was smooth like the darkest night, her eyes gleamed with the light of stars, and her hair fell in thick, long braids that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Her smile, when she offered it, could stop a heart. No one knew where Zuina had come from. She was not from Ukoma, that much was certain. The elders, who prided themselves on knowing the histories of all families in the village and beyond, could not trace her origin. Zuina did not speak much, answering questions with brief, polite phrases, or sometimes not at all. She appeared at the market every 7 days, always at the same time, selling her strange and beautiful fruits. And as mysteriously as she came, she would leave, always disappearing into the nearby forest as dusk approached. The men of Ukoma, both young and old, were captivated by her. Each market day, they flocked to her store, offering her more money than her fruits were worth, attempting to strike up conversations, or even proposing marriage. Zuina would smile, accepting their compliments and coins, but she would never linger in conversation for long. Some said she was cold. Others said she was simply shy. But what everyone agreed on was that there was something about Zuina that was not quite normal. The women of Ukoma whispered among themselves. They marveled at her beauty, yet they were also suspicious. She was too perfect, too flawless. And where did she live? No one had ever seen her outside of the market. Some said she must live in one of the villages on the other side of the forest, but the distance was too far for her to travel on foot. Others believed she was some kind of spirit, a magical being who had taken human form to walk among them. Zuina had secrets, deep and powerful ones. She was not like the people of Ukoma. In fact, she was not human at all. Zuina came from a mystical race, creatures who lived deep in the forest, hidden from mortal eyes. Her people could shift forms, appearing human when they wished but returning to their true forms when among their own kind. Zuina's true form was ethereal, with skin like moonlight and eyes that glowed softly in the dark. Her parents, ancient beings of great magic, had warned her many times, do not stray too far from the forest, and never fall in love with a human. But Zuina was restless. She had lived for centuries in the shadows of the forest, watching the humans from afar. She envied them, their simple lives, their joys and sorrows, their loves and losses. More than anything, Zuina longed to live as they did, to feel the warmth of the sun on her skin, to laugh and dance in the open air, to experience love as a human would. And so, one day, she defied her parents and ventured into the village in human form, setting up her food stall to mingle with the villagers. She was careful at first, speaking little, keeping her distance. But with each market day, Zuina found herself growing bolder. She enjoyed the attention, the admiration, the way the villagers looked at her as if she were something wondrous. She reveled in the human experience, selling her fruits, listening to their gossip, watching their lives unfold. Yet, there was a growing sense of danger. Zuina knew she was playing a risky game. If her parents discovered her transgressions, they would be furious. And worse still, she felt the pull of human emotions, emotions her kind were forbidden to feel. Among the many admirers who visited Zuina's store, one man stood out. His name was Whale, a wealthy merchant who traveled from village to village, trading in goods from faraway lands. Whale was not a native of Ukoma, but he had taken a liking to the village and often stayed there for weeks at a time. He was a tall, imposing man with sharp features and an air of authority. He had heard the rumors of the beautiful fruit seller, but when he first laid eyes on Zuina, even he was taken aback by her beauty. Whale was not a man easily impressed, but something about Zuina stirred something deep within him. He found himself visiting her store more often than he needed to, buying fruits he had no intention of eating, just to have an excuse to speak with her. Unlike the other men who fawned over her, Whale was direct, asking her questions about her life, her origins, her dreams. Zuina, for the first time, found herself drawn to a human. Whale was different from the others. He was confident but not arrogant, charming but not overbearing. And most of all, he saw her not just as a beautiful woman but as a person with thoughts and feelings. She found herself smiling more when he was around, lingering in conversation longer than she should. Against her better judgment, Zuina felt herself falling for him. Her parents had warned her, again and again, never to become too close to humans. They are fragile, they said. Their lives are brief, and they will bring you nothing but sorrow. But Zuina could not help herself. She longed to be with Whale, to share in his world, to love him as a human woman would love a man. Yet, deep down, she knew it was impossible. She was not human, and no matter how much she wished it, she could never fully be a part of his world. One evening, after the market had closed, Whale approached Zuina as she was packing up her store. "You never told me where you live," he said, his eyes searching hers. "Where do you go when the market is over?" Zuina hesitated. No one had ever asked her that before. "I live not far from here," she lied. "I'd like to see your home one day," Will said, stepping closer. "If you let me." Zuina's heart raced. She could not let him follow her, could not let him discover the truth about what she was. But she also could not deny the growing feelings inside her. "Perhaps, one day," she whispered, her voice trembling with both fear and longing. As Will left, Zuina stood alone in the fading light, torn between the world she longed for and the one she could never fully belong to. That night, as Zuina returned to the forest, she was confronted by her parents. They had sensed the changes in her, the way her heart was shifting. "You must stop this," her father said, his voice stern. "You are one of us. You belong here, in the forest, not with the humans." "But I love him," Zuina protested. "I want to be with him. I want to be human." Her mother's face softened, but her eyes were full of sorrow. "If you choose that path, Zuina, you will lose everything. You will lose us, your magic, your immortality. You will become one of them, fragile, bound by time, destined to die." Zuina knew the truth of her mother's words. She understood the weight of the decision before her. But deep inside, she also knew that she could not continue living a life divided between two worlds.